Hey guys, and welcome back to the TI4 Qualifiers China edition presented by Monster. We're actually going to jump straight into the draft, Sunsfan, I think, because we are
Okay.
quite a bit into this. I am, of course, Syndrin. With me is Sunsfan, or the other way around. We're basically together.
I thought you were gonna do my intro. You're like,
Yeah.
"Hey guys."
Hey guys, this is
That was
Sunsfan
pretty good.
with an introduction to HGT versus Dreamtime.
Yes.
Show us the draft. There we go. Okay, so
Ooh.
this is good. Okay, let's really quickly run over what's interesting about this draft. So, Bad Rider, Darkseer, not really two weird bans. Neither is Lycan. OD banned in the first phase by Dreamtime, and they get their first pick Brewmaster.
Well, obviously a targeted ban, but at the same time it opens up other heroes that they may or may not want to play, which of course Brewmaster, as you talked about, Dreamtime's favorite hero of all time, and that was actually a pun that I did not intend. That was pretty good. What did you think, Cinder?
I think that was mediocre, but by your standards, it was pretty good.
That's okay. I'll take that. That's fine.
That's a problem.
HGT, on the other hand, are going to pick up the Ancient Apparition and Invoker, so they have already a lot of global presence, depending on what kind of build Invoker's going to be going for. But you know what's funny? We haven't seen, since the cast that we've done at least, we haven't seen Shadow Demon picked or banned at all. Is that a trend that we're going to continue to see, or is that just an anomaly?
That's an anomaly. And I would say the Chinese teams also still pick it sometimes. But you're right, it's been picked less in this qualifier than in the other two by far, at least in the games we've seen. And here we go. Dreamtime will be getting their Visage. This is arguably maybe not the best Visage player in the world, but for me one of the three best Visage players in the world. He is exceptionally good. I'm of course talking about Super for DT. They're getting their trademark 2 heroes from the get-go. This team loves to play Morphling as their carry. We'll see if they manage to grab that. Of course, not necessarily that good against AA, and especially not against Invoker if he plays Quaswex. Morphling is a very mana-dependent carry, but we'll see if that's what they choose to do. They're going to ban out the Axe now. I feel like this is targeted at HGT, but I bring up a sample of why they would do that, since we haven't really seen their games.
I'm not sure.
But
Well, one late game hero out of the pool.
Spectre is another hero that Dreamtime like to play,
Yeah.
so not really too surprised with this ban.
Well, it's funny because, well, for DT, we have 2 micro-intensive heroes, and then for HGT, we have 2 global. It's like almost like one of those pub global strats kind of thing. I don't know if Invoker can be considered part of that, but I guess you could. If you get a guaranteed stun, I suppose it's decent. But, yeah, it should be fun to see the Brewmaster, which I'm assuming. Do we see them mid or in the farm lane for the Chinese?
Air always plays it mid, at least. And maybe that's why they banned the OD, since that's a good hero against Brewmaster
Since that's
lane.
the best mid hero ever.
Maybe
basically.
that's a way other teams have dealt with Brew. Maybe it's a targeted ban at Hyperglory team. I can't say for sure. But they're going to ban Tide to prevent HGT from running absolute teamfight mayhem. Of course, Tide, A, and Invoker together is a very potent teamfight combo. And one way Dreamtime likes to play is have the better teamfight, have the better late game carry. Just they pretty much exclusively play one real carry, which is they love getting Spectre for that one.
Ooh.
And then the other heroes are just excellent at team fighting. Visage, one of the best team fight supports in the game, has excellent damage with Soul Assumption. The familiar drops become potent, especially when they hit level 2 and level 3 with an Axe Scepter. And the Rubik will be picked by HGT. This is, I want to say this is just to steal Primal Split.
Yeah, that's so easy. I mean, when you're at a Primal Split, actually, that would be pretty rigged if, you know how if you get Aghanim Scepter, you can use those, the Thunderclap and the Drunken Haze. But while you're in Spirit form, if those actually counted as those spells, but I'm pretty positive that's not the case.
No.
So it's a very easy spell to steal for sure. So I think you're right.
If we know how good Air is on Brewmaster, right? He is arguably is it an overstatement saying he's the best Brewmaster in the world?
No.
I don't think so. He will be tornadoing the Rubik before his Brewmaster ultimate expires.
Okay.
And if he does that, he can split, or he can just cast another spell, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So we're going to see. As a matter of fact, I was really impressed by DDZ's Brewmaster play as well, though. He stepped up and played so well. Here's the Centaur, which Dreamtime also loved to play. No big surprise so far in the draft. Love getting that. Does Stampede affect the Brewmaster ultimate splits?
Ooh,
Do you know?
Let me think for a
Roland,
second.
you know this. You're a mechanics guy.
Damn, I'm not sure. I'm not
Does Stampede
sure.
affect Brewmaster's split units?
We're waiting for the answer
Okay,
here.
Roland is making a face. We will assume that means
Let's just
maybe.
say no, and we'll be corrected later, I suppose. That's a good question, though, because that would be pretty sick. That would be really sick combination. But Lifesteal is going to be picked for HGT. I would not say that's the greatest pick against Brewmaster itself. It's good against the actual spirits, though, I think. But because of the evasion, you're pretty much forced to get like an MKB, which is not something Lifestealer wants to do.
It's really good against the other heroes, though.
Right. Centaur especially. You love meaty heroes, pretty much. And Lifestealer is basically a pick for that. But I'm interested to see what HGT's lanes are going to be. So Invoker mid, we have... Is that going to be their tri-lane, Rubik, AA, Lifestealer? I mean, AA could potentially get at least one in Cold Feet. That's almost a guarantee. That's like an old school combo.
Yeah, an old school
AA.
dual lane, as a matter of fact.
Right. And add Telekinesis on top of that. It's a guaranteed Cold Feet, along with God knows how much damage you're going to be doing with Chilling Touch.
Yeah, they're going to be grabbing a Mirana here. So I don't know if Dreamtime are actually planning on challenging this lane. They have 2 ranged heroes here, and maybe the Centaur will be safe laned, or it will be a support Mirana. Knowing Dreamtime, they will want a stronger carry than Mirana. I do not think she's going to be played in a position 1 here. Although Mirana versus Lifestealer late game, she's a great hero at kiting, of course, with Leap. Has good movement speed and mobility with that, but as far as HGT goes, I think this Mirana pick from Dreamtime was actually just a way of dealing with the Lifestealer. They're like, okay, all our other heroes, or at least Centaur and Visage, get countered really hard by Lifestealer. Our remaining heroes should not.
Well, keep in mind, although Centaur is one of those beefy heroes that Lifestealer is typically good against, the Stampede is ridiculously good against Lifestealer as well.
But then again, Rubik could steal it and then just turn around on them.
Oh,
that is a possibility.
Rubik's
have been really good, actually. The Rubiks we've been seeing in all the qualifiers, there's been some standout plays from many of the teams, so...
And Bane is the ban for HGT, so you're not going to see that combination coupled with Mirana. So they're thinking that Mirana is actually the one here. Wraith King's my last pick for them, though. And that's going to give them... Okay, so who's the offlaner, exactly? Is this going to be dual lanes, perhaps?
That's a good question.
I mean, we've seen Wraith King offlane, but it's garbage.
It's garbage and Dire,
especially on Dire.
I would say this is going to be an aggressive trial lane from HGT. The problem is they're kind of investing everything into it because they have no offlane potential. Offlane Lifestealer is an option, but I think it's very weak on Dire. Sure, you can rage TP out all the time, but if you get forced to do that, you use your gold on that.
Yep.
And it's not really going to be useful.
There it is.
There we go. So
but it's like a last pick. It's just so weird to see when I'm used to seeing it taken in the first 2 picks almost exclusively. So
it's really good in this game. So good.
So Mirana is the one. So Mirana vs Shadow Demon. I mean, you don't want to go up against this if you're HGT. So
this is an insane.
I think the beginning of the game is going to be really important to see how the lanes actually match up and see how people react to them if they're going to be rotating out. Because, like we talked about, I mean, honestly, the tri-lane isn't that bad for HGT, no matter which person they actually put in it. But it still gets rocked by this. I mean, can you even pop... Like, let's just assume it's a Lifestealer, even though that's probably not going to be the case. Can you even pop Rage out of... I mean, if the arrow is in between the disruption, I don't think you can pop Rage. Even though it's an instantaneous cast. But
no, I don't think you can, but I remember there were some interactions at some point where it didn't make any sense what you could cast Rage in, but I think the stun will hit if you do it perfectly with disruption. So, HGT, however, with the last pick, Wraith King, I think this... I'm not sure if DT made their decision that Mirana was already a core before this pick, but with the Wraith King last pick, a Mirana can actually carry this game late game. There's not enough heroes from HGT to win this late game. They don't have any... if they use the Wraith King as a core, which it looks like they will together with Lifestealer, it's a double melee late game core against Shadow Demon and Brewmaster.
Here we go again with this Lifestealer set again.
Yeah,
you want to talk about this for a little bit?
Not again. No, I've had enough of that talk. Let's not talk about that again. So HGT will be running 5 heroes bottom. Let's introduce the players on the way. We might have a level 1 clash here. So we will have perhaps the most legendary player on HGT, or definitely the most renowned one, will be ZSMJ playing as the Lifestealer. We've got CTY playing as Invoker, Pretty Haw on the Rubik, XTT on Wraith King, and then finally S will be playing as AA.
Are they actually going to catch each other here? The arrow flies, so actually they're going to be missing that, so DT probably doesn't want to fight this if they're given the choice. Looks like they're going to avoid each other, at least for now. Of course, with smokes... Oh, some sentries being put down. But anyway, for DT, before we get into any action, we got Super on the Visage, Air on the mid, Pandaren Brewmaster, which I refuse to call him anything else for as long as I live. Shadow Demon is going to be played by Dreamy U. In July, playing the offlane Centaur and Mirana. The 1 carry XDD is going to be playing that today. So it looks as if the Mirana tri-lane will be bought. And who is this? That's the Wraith King bottom. So how are you thinking these lanes? I mean, we talked about how we thought the lanes might end up, but what do you think is the best possible scenario for HGT? Because I mean, it's really tough. tri lane to go up against.
This lane is going to be so sick. Both teams have really good tri lanes. Wraith King is an excellent setup for telekinesis, or sorry, for Cold Feet, just like we talked about with Lifestealer's Open Wounds. Wraith Fire Blast, arguably the best setup in the game for Cold Feet. But then on DT's side, you've got Disruption, which is the best counter in the lane. So these two tri lanes going up against each other is going to be absolutely insane. I think HGT have great kill potential, but they're playing against a great defensive lane that also has good kill potential. I dare say that the bottom lane is going to have 90% of the action in the first 5 minutes.
Every time we say that, it's elsewhere, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But there's like, okay, there's no way anyone dies one-on-one in this mid lane. Brewmaster against Invoker. I cannot imagine it. And top lane, maybe in July can get killed by ZSMJ if he overestimates his own ability.
Honestly, I like that matchup for Lifestealer, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
you
I
get
think it's
Feast
good.
level 1. I mean, he's actually doesn't even know the lanes exactly yet, so I'm actually surprised he went for the Feast right away. But it is the right build in this 1v1 matchup against any strength hero. And even in July, goes for double edge before hoof stomp. So they're just very confident in not getting ganked at the very early stages.
I'm not sure why you're displaying as if you have muted in-game mic. We might not have the Dota TV sound on for some reason, so we...
Test.
That is really weird. It's...
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Alright, there we go.
Yay!
So apparently... Thank you, Roland. It is fixed. We are not muted.
Blame Conrad.
Conrad hasn't been
2014.
in this room for 2 hours. Definitely Conrad's fault.
Yeah.
Alright, it's Brian's fault. K-pop did it again.
Good catch, Syndrin. Well done. That's just for Dota TV, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, so
okay.
Our sound is good in Dota TV. If you guys are watching in Dota TV, welcome. Sorry for the sound issues. We are running as we should be now, I believe. Give us feedback in the chat really quickly to let us know if it's alright. But yeah, HGT versus DT, arguably the biggest game of the day. Let's hope it's a good one. I would say this tri lane at least is going to be really, really fun to watch.
I would definitely agree. So we talked about top a bit, the Lifestealer versus Centaur. I think it's relatively even, I suppose, although I still like Lifestealer in that matchup once he gets some levels. And then the mid lane, Invoker versus the Brewmaster. Who do you have in that lane? I mean, I know how much you like the Brewmaster for DT, but hero versus hero, not player versus player. Who do you take?
Hero versus hero in this matchup? If
Yeah.
Brewmaster starts skilling Drunken Haze,
Which
I
you
think
assume
he'll
he's
win
doing,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't done it yet, though. He will take 1 point in Brawler just for the guaranteed crit, which will help in last hit, and of course the dodge ability. On level 3, I think you should actually take Haze on level 3 instead of the second level of Clap, and just start hazing CTY. Invoker has no farming mechanism in the mid lane apart from right clicks, unless if he goes for the Forge Spirit, which CTY has not done so far. He's got 1 point in Quas and his Invoke skill. And just that 1 point in Haze can make a huge difference and win you the lane if you use it well. It's a 45% miss chance on level 1 for 50 mana. It's an absolute wonderful 1 point wonder. Would not recommend maxing it against Invoker. There are some matchups, old school, I don't know how old school that is, but going back a year and a half or something, Brewmaster was the lane counter to TA, where you just maxed Drunken Haze, and she couldn't farm.
Drunken Haze, so good.
He is
Actually, a
getting a
nice.
second point.
He didn't even pop Rage in that fake hoof stomp. Very nicely played from ZSMJ. Bottom lane, we have some not counter, actually disruption.
Oh, he
Into
needs
the
to be-
Soul Catcher. It's on the wrong hero, but they'll take it if it's a Wraith King. Little damage coming out. Soul Assumption to fall. That's the first blood going DT's way. And this, I don't know. That's a very early kill. I did favor DT's tri lane in this matchup, but I didn't expect to kill that fast, to be perfectly honest. But I guess Soul Catchers with disruption's all you need. With the arrow.
Yeah, and he didn't arrow the guy that was in the disruption.
That's true.
Wraith King just went in and took it. And
Yeah. It worked out.
I think Wraith King is the best hero they can hit with the arrow, because his single target stun is really important and deals damage. The other two heroes, you Chilling Touch, sure, Rubik and AA are going to do some damage, but they can't save the Wraith King. They have a telekinesis only, which just didn't do that much here. And if DT get the right initiation, I favor them.
If they get
every single time.
the Soul Catcher arrow, that's all you need. Technically, you don't need the disruption. If Wraith King's going to go in and take the stun, then you'll take that any day of the week, obviously. One thing I want to talk about before we get too late in the game here, although it is 3 minutes, so that's probably premature, but I want to talk about Invoker. You would assume he would want to go something like an Orchid against Brewmaster, but knowing that the Brewmaster is going to get BKB, because this is the kind of team that gets a BKB on Brewmaster, do you even bother with an Orchid against him?
Depends how the Brewmaster itemizes, because sometimes Air will get the Axe first.
Okay, he actually gets stunned finally at top lane.
Sometimes Air will get the BKB before the Ags, and sometimes he will get the Ags. I think he's going to base it off the feeling he has of CTY's item progression. If CTY gets a very early Orchid, I think it's going to be a good choice. If it's going to be a medium time, then Air will probably go for a BKB as he sees it coming, or he will just not use Clap. He will blink split.
Right.
And if CTY has vision of him, he can instant Orchid. Okay. Okay.
Your camera, I'm assuming? Yes, okay. Alright, so we have, actually a nice EMP. No, not a whole lot of mana on Air here at the top rune. As, well, Tranquil Boots now picked up by Centaur, so he's doing fairly well in the off lane against that Lifestealer. Although it is 15 to 23 to 7. I guess you can't be too surprised with Lifestealer taking the CS lead overall in that lane.
And Brewmaster in the mid lane receives his bottle once again, so he will be bottling up here. We'll be getting the boots as well. He's not got a point in Haze, which, as I said, I would have preferred for him to get that against the Invokers with a little more pressure, but he preferred getting the other skill build. I'm not going to argue with Air's Brewmaster. This guy knows what he's doing. But he will be getting out-farmed a little bit by CTY, who is, by the way, an exceptional mid player. Just mechanically. I believe he did win a one-on-one tournament in China, and in the second edition, did he get to the finals or the round of 4? I'm not completely sure.
Alright, we're listening to LD saying that he's very good with Invoker, basically. So, anywho.
So CTY did the tournament he won. He beat Ferrari.
No, he didn't actually play 430.
Oh,
But he won a 1v1 tournament with 430.
Okay, he won a 1v1 tournament with 430 in it. Didn't directly face him, but won that tournament.
Disruption.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, the arrow's actually going to hit. I thought it might have been off the mark,
easy.
but XTT goes down again. Of course, his supports are nowhere to be seen because they're roaming the map. But, alas, that will cause another death. And we've seen this from time to time where the tri-lane's going to lose. Actually, we're going to have a Hood Stomp mid. CTY taking so much damage. Thunderclap to follow. And Visage getting the last hit. And Stampede is already up pretty high. Taking the Soul Assumption, taking the right clicks. And there is another crit. So, screw Drunken Haze. 2 levels of crits, good enough for me, says Air. To Cinderin. Eat it, Cinderin.
So 4-0 for DT, looking really good. The overall sacrifice they've made is farm. They've sacrificed farm for kills, which is good enough when you're 4-0. The top lane, ZSMJ, is an exceptional farmer, and he's doing a great job here, getting a lot of CS, has 37 at 6 minutes. He was playing a one-on-one lane, did beat the Centaur like we talked about. A good matchup for Lifestealer. Not just a flat-out stomp lane, but one that Lifestealer should win. And Invoker as well, 10 CS ahead of the Brew.
Well, as far as CS is concerned, this is kind of a stomp. It's almost double the farm at this point.
But Centaur rotated mid.
Right, so that's what I was going to say. So, Disruption into the Soul Catcher, but Air. Oh, he pops his wand, but there goes the Ghost Walk. So, unfortunately, no vision for DT, and they're forced back with actually 4 committing to that. That's quite a big commitment overall. As we're going to see Air pick up, I guess that's a full wand, but that was delivered, I assume. Thank you, LD. I appreciate that. Rubik. Oh, Centaur is going to double edge right away. He's going to get cold feet if he's not
what do you
too
think
careful.
About, who's this 004?
Yeah, I think it's for Rubik. Well, although ZSMJ and company are on the way. Hoof Stomp is there if he needs to get out. Of course, Telekinesis was already used.
He could turn and fight. He has Stampede.
Yeah, Stampede in 1 second. And Shadow Demon's here. Disruption. Well, not exactly the target they wanted on because Rage is just going to be probably just going to run away. But Pretty Ha is going to run away as well. Unfortunately,
I'm surprised in July didn't bait that. Telekinesis was on cooldown. He could have turned and hoof stomped the Rubik, started fighting him. If Lifestealer opened wounds, he just stampedes away. They get the kill. So they could have perhaps got a little bit more out of that, but most importantly, in July gets out. What do you think about skill build?
On Centaur? Oh, hold on a second. He's getting Telekinesis along with the open wounds. Moonlight Shadow's out though, and the Stampede's going to be used to get him out of cold feet range. Pretty Hot taking a Soul Assumption to the face. Not quite enough for the kill. Disruption into absolutely nothing. It's a defensive disruption. So Centaur, you're talking about?
Yes, his skill build.
So he has what? It's a 3,
3,
2,
0,
interesting.
1.
That is interesting. I have to think about this for a bit. I mean, in the laning stage, it doesn't really matter against Lifestealer what you go. I mean, Hoof Stomp can be easily dodged. Return, not too important against him. It's more for range heroes overall, but
when
it's
you have
weird.
Soul Catcher on the Shadow Demon, I think Double Edge just hurts.
That's
so
true.
Damn hard.
But we haven't even seen them really combo that yet, so maybe they're not looking for that. But like we talked about so many times, that dual combo is ridiculous. And yeah, Double Edge should be maxed out for that. But like you said, I'm not here to question them, even though I am a top 50 centaur and, you know, arguably #1 in the world, actually.
Yeah, I think you should be playing instead of this guy.
He already has he has 1,000 gold, so he's getting on his way to a Blink Dagger, and I think that's going to help them gank even more, but that was Mott notes, by the way. Air and company are now smoked, and, well, they're going to find some pulling here.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're going to need
I don't know if they
Stampede.
can even pull this off, because
Disruption.
as long as
He's in
Mirana's
range
there,
now.
they're
Disruption.
just going to lift Air and throw him away. This is not ever going to end up with a kill. Lifestealer comes in.
Well, he
I think
gets
Air
off
might
the
be
Thunderclap.
forced to
He
split
hits
here.
nothing. Yeah, the cold feet's there as well, but not going to proc. He's going to have to use his ult. And you're right, it's going to be mostly defensively. Although ZSMJ trying to infest into a creep, he's going to get
Are they going to
Cyclone.
farm the camp here before he gets down?
That
This
would be so
huge.
sick, but he's going to go in. His teammates not really helping too much, but now they're here. XTT and company. Another whirlwind from Air, but he's still getting caught out. Even with all the evasion, there's only so much his team can do. He's going to go down. So you're right. They didn't have the Air to set it up. They didn't have Stampede, which I think was more important.
Yep.
So a little bit of a misplay here from DT.
I think Shadow Demon and Mirana should be playing more together right now. And that doesn't have to be Mirana rotating, but then Shadow Demon should be getting the kills at bottom lane. It's such a good combo, and it
Right.
should be pretty easy. And if they get a kill bottom lane, every time they kill that Wraith King, they can start pressuring the tower. This is the first damage that's been done to the bottom tier 1 in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's after Wraith King's supports left him alone to rot. Generally, we would see this tower, if not down to like 25%, but XDD has just been holding the lane and farming, and I would have liked him to put more pressure. The Wraith King got experience anyway. He's level 6 after he got left in that lane.
Not too bad, yeah.
So DT actually kind of gave them an opening, and after their great start, the graphs are just telling the story. They got 4 kills, but now it's just they're losing out. The gold is back to 0, so is the experience.
And the killing of the neutrals would have been such a next level play, but it just goes to show you how weak the level 1 Brewmaster ult is. It really just doesn't do that much damage. It's more for the stun and the whirlwind and all that good stuff to set up other things. But as far as the fire pan, it's just obviously the weakest, but not enough to take him out either way. So CTY going to be stacking. No, that's actually, I don't know what he's doing actually. He's just going to be killing the single ancients, apparently. But as far as late game's concerned, you talked about this briefly in the early stages of the game. Who did you like again? You liked HGT, right?
I like both, depending. If this goes super
I'm sorry,
late,
you like DT with Mirana.
yeah, if it goes super late, Mirana has good farm. I think she can kite Wraith King and Lifestealer pretty well. And of course, we'll be playing with. Never underestimate Shadow Demon as support late game. Brewmaster from Air can. He proved it. Was it 2 days ago in that 90-minute game that he can be incredibly useful in a 90-minute game with Brew. So I would never count out DT for a late game with this kind of lineup. But then again, Mirana did not go Midas. ZSMJ has 60 CS. Mirana has 50. Wraith King got a lot out of the offlane. Is now level 8.
I can't wait for him to get his blink, and I think that's the initiation HGT's waiting for, because you can just lifesteal bomb directly into the Wraith King. Not the most usual setup, but actually probably one of the strongest if you really think about it.
That's true. That would be a really good setup. CSMJ is actually going to maybe try for this. No. And Mirana just soloed Rubik. Okay, I did not expect that to come out, so I wasn't looking for that either.
Well, the arrow was obviously used. Brewmaster not able to get his Thunderclap off in time, and will be forced back for now. It looks like they might apply some pressure to this tier 1 tower. In fact, he's just going to use a Thunderclap on these creeps. But most of their ults are up. Or the main ultimates are up, I should say, as XTT now and HGT in general are now amalgamating towards the top lane. We have a Tornado going to be used, but the Stampede
successfully forced
activated
the Stampede.
defensively.
Now XTD is putting some pressure on mid lane. He has his Aquila turned on, so we'll be doing good damage to this tower. He's going Midas, though. He went phase first into a 12-minute Midas, which is pretty late for a safe laner. So, but that's a result of his item choices, basically. And let's talk about Air. He will, most of the time, have a Blink Dagger by now, right? It's 12 and a half minutes in his mid lane. He's been shut down fairly decently, didn't get as much farm as he would have liked, and CTY is just way ahead of him in CS. He's almost doubled him up on the Invoker. And that means this Orchid for CTY will be really, really early. He chose to go for it. I like the choice in this game based on Brewmaster's farm, and a really unusual Infest carrier here. It's going to work. Ghost Walk into Super. Say goodbye to your Visage.
Yeah, we talked about the potential Wraith King Nake's Bomb, but I guess the Invoker one works pretty well.
Yeah. That's legit.
Well, now you just need like a Radiance as well, and then max that Wex so you can go max speed. So
yeah,
that,
and then
that
you're
would be
ready
legit.
to win your 1k MMR pubs right away. Excellent.
Are there such a thing as 1k MMR pubs?
There are such a thing as 500.
Ugh. Shout out to all those players. We love you.
You've been there.
That's so mean.
So true, though.
So mean. I carry you in pub, Syndrin. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. You've seen my Brewmaster. Can't even say that hero name without laughing at this point.
No, you can't.
But Brewmaster is actually, speaking of him, only a couple hundred away from finishing his blink. Well, is he going to go blink or is he going to... I'm assuming blinks first.
Yes, he still needs to get blink, definitely. It is absolutely core in the brew, and if he doesn't have a blink, he's never going to get a good split off. That's his one chance of getting one, because else he's just going to get orchided as he runs in.
Speaking of the blink, we have Centaur.
Oh boy, yes, could be
Along here
walking
with
into
air.
trouble here. They do see him. Gonna go for a wraparound. Shadow Demon. Disruption is available. They're gonna blink. Hoofstump's gonna not even connect
Thunderclap
here,
on
but
2, and here comes the ult. Big, juicy amounts of damage from In July. Centaur is such a beast of burden. 2 for 1 exchange, though. Shadow Demon did fall in that engagement. CTY is going to dodge the stun nicely with the Ghost Walk.
farming arrow.
Whirlwind on Lifestealer, and this is going to... DT's just going to use this to fall back yet again. So they're really good at picking off people and backing up as the Blink Dagger is now online for the Brewmaster. And that is going to... Well, obviously he can't do a whole lot without his ultimate, which is a decently long cooldown at this point.
Do you
But
think HGT could go Roche? There's no Brewmaster ult. They have Wex, Quas Invoker, of course, ready to play defensively with the EMP, and they have Wraith King Aura. So perhaps Roche would be a play here, but maybe they don't have the damage yet. There's no Medallion.
well, Lifestealer...
doesn't hit that hard on Roche because his feast doesn't work. So maybe not a right call here. So they're gonna gank instead. I love this Ghost Walk bomb. I think it's so legit. This is something I never see. And
pretty
Air
cool.
could be in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Is he gonna blink? No, he's not. He's gonna die.
EMP. Not that he would have been able to get out of this either way, but yeah, it's enough to get the kill for sure.
He got dieded.
Excuse me?
Bottom lane, arrow. Will connect, XTT, but he does have the ultimate ready, and Rubik's coming in.
Well, XTT still stunned. As a matter of fact, telekinesis on XDD. He's going to... Nice leap out of the Wraith Fire Blast. And that will end in a stalemate, at least for now. We have some more reinforcements coming for HGT. Do they want to dive is the question, as the Tier 1 top was taken out by Visage ZSMJ.
Royal Air Force took care
Getting rid
that.
of some of these creeps. And I do believe that they want to check this at some point. Moonlight Shadow's offline here. We see in July a 2v1. I was going to say a 1v1. It's not too fair, though, when you have a Visage with Soul Assumption in combination with the double edge. It's pretty
It's true,
dirty.
It's not really a true 1v1 when it's a 2v1. I would agree with you on that. That's a really good point.
It's like a double edge. Have you ever thought about that? The Soul
that
Assumption?
sounds like an American burger.
Sounds like a candy bar. Sounds terrific.
Oh,
whatever
like
it is.
an XL double edge
edge.
with extra bacon and cheese.
Well, Centaur is made of
Oh,
beef,
boy.
so delicious horse meat. Anyway, ZSMJ and company are going to be in the mid lane, but 8-4 advantage for DT at this point. And you're right, the Orchid is going to, well, it's getting closer for Invoker. He only needs a recipe and one other item to finish that off. So,
That's
quarter
a
staff.
decently timed mech. The trial lane for DT went well, of course, but still 6.
Oh, Arrow's going to connect. I don't think they're going to follow up. Speaking of not being able to follow up, it's going to be AA Blast and Invoker Tornado setting it up beautifully.
Get bursted.
That wasn't... You got to say it more emphatically than that.
Get bursted.
No.
Alright, I'm done. I'm not going to follow up on that. Don't force me. Don't make me.
I feel like I need to.
Nope.
Visage does have the mech, as we talked about, and the kitty is drinking my water. How dare you drink my water?
Is it actually?
That's my water. Okay, we can share.
Oh boy.
Oh, CTY is infested again. The Ghost Walk of Doom is what we'll call it. It's actually... It's level 6 Wex. It's ridiculous. He's so fast. Oh, but the Sentry will spot them, and Visage should be able to get out. Okay.
Uh-oh.
He
Drops
pops
another
another
one.
Sentry.
Just in case the other one didn't actually see them.
Oh.
Arrow. Off the mark. But here comes Air.
Oh, Air. Nice Thunderclap. Not able to get his ultimate off as of yet. Soul Catcher applied to Rubik, though. That should be his death one way or another. AA Blast is only going to clip the Shadow Demon. Brewmaster gets out, did not pop his ult, which is a good thing, obviously. Still infested in Invoker. This is a pretty big commitment as far as time is concerned.
I agree. This is the time when you just caught your losses. You're like, that didn't work. Start
Well,
farming.
he can Ghost Walk again, so it's
or
all
he just
good.
hides. This is a pretty sneaky play from CTY, but he's not going to find anyone. All of DT are in the bottom lane, apart from the Centaur, who will be making his way towards top, but I don't think he can wait that long. Lifestealer is sacrificing a lot of farm right now, and it's funny enough that he's been infested for so long that you can actually see it on the gold graph. It's starting to cost them so
Really?
much GPM. Yeah, they lost like 500 gold over the last minute with pretty much nothing happening. It's just lifesteal and not farming. That's what it costs. So it's time to get out.
Can you talk to me about
Just get out.
the arcane boots on Brewmaster? Is that normal? I feel like that's not normal. But maybe it is.
Yeah, isn't it? It's pretty common.
Against EMP, I suppose. It's
Yeah,
good?
I think it's for the EMP exactly. It's
Okay.
because the EMP will burn 550, and then you can still use arcane boots and use
Right.
split. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's the
true.
reasoning.
That's a good point.
But you're right. In many games, Brewmaster will actually not get arcanes
Well, it's ever
anymore
since
because
the
of blink,
right.
0 mana
Right.
cost. But I think in this game it's really good, and it's not only for himself; it's also for the team. They have arcane boots and Shadow Demon as well.
He's
And-
finally out. Oh my god. That was like the longest infest ever. Oh, Stampede initiation from air. Right-clicking. Well, AA Blast actually will come out, but it looks like it will cause his death one way or another as the double edge finishes off Rubik. So 2 dead right off the bat in that engagement. DT going to be pushing that tier 2. It's going to be a trade of sorts, though. They might lose that mid-tier 1.
Way better trade for DT here. DT has been like 4 heroes in this bottom lane for the last minute, and HGT does nothing about it. They could have defended that tower with Tornado EMP, but they're trying to split push mid. They don't even get the tier 1.
Well, they don't
big,
really have
big
the
advantage DT right
They don't even have a very good pushing team at all. There's another infest. This is like the 3rd or 4th. We'll see if their ratio comes out a little bit better than
He's
last
got
time.
cool
but
down on his Tornado now. They're going to have to do
Oh.
it with Cold Snap, but
in July,
DT with the
see if he
awareness.
dives the tower with his Ghost Walk infest. That would be pretty pro, I think. But not going Quas Exhort obviously limits your pushing power, so that's something to keep in mind for those trades that, again, it wasn't really a trade. You lose 2, you lose the tier 2, and you get nothing, really. I mean, they did a little bit of damage to 2 tier 1s, but that's...
And Brewmaster didn't even split.
Moonlight
so the team fight
Shadow.
is there.
Oh,
This Orchid
Invoker
for CTY
feels
is
it.
going to be so late, too. Their cores have just wasted time. CTY could have easily had his Orchid by now if he was farming instead of running around with Lifestealer going on picnics in the river. Lifestealer could have maybe been on his way to finishing his armlet. This is just not effective at all. And you could say against less good teams than DT this could work, but DT are just aware. They have so good map awareness, have not been caught. They've been caught once by this.
oh,
Not been fooled
here we
twice,
go. Right.
and
Oh my
excellent.
god, that
Perfect
leap.
disjoint by XDD.
What a professional player.
Yeah, he's
So
probably
good.
top 50 on Murano.
Yeah, probably. But it doesn't come anything close
Arrow?
to number 7 Ursa.
Alright, maybe top 75.
Okay.
Top tier 2, though. Good pressure coming out for DT again.
Yeah,
They're making HGT run around the map like...
I mean, how long has this been infest been in here? Like, good lord. They could do a double infest right now if they wanted. Actually, that would be a lot of damage. Now that I think about it, it's not something you really... it's not something you see every day, I suppose. I mean, Wraith King, is he getting anywhere close to his Blink Dagger at this point? Or is he just not going to bother? Oh, he does have it. Why
Yeah,
don't they just... I feel like that's still a better initiation, to be honest, than in the Invokers. We're going to see Air and company just destroy the Ancient Apparition, although he did get his ult off, but alas, it won't do too much at the end of the day. Down for 25 seconds, this tier 2 tower, in all likelihood, is going to continue to be pushed here from DT.
Yeah, this tier 2 is gonna fall. I don't think HGT can defend it without the Ice Blast available. Of course, Air still has Split available. He's
still...
It's
I'm so confused. Okay, well, here's the initiation from Injuly, but here come the TPs. The Infest Bomb, not that big of a surprise, I suppose, for Injuly. He's just going to tank up as much damage as possible. Looks like he may go down the Tornado. Is there to finish him off.
great
But
gank. We got him, boys.
Shadow Demon is going to disrupt Soul Catcher, the Lifestealer. Arrow, melee range, doesn't even matter. The damage is all that matters here. As
Okay,
he goes down, so the trade isn't even there.
Didn't even
and
get him, boys.
CTY
They
getting
got a 1 for
slowed
2.
so much.
Oh no.
And Air taking the last hit for that. So let's see. That was a longer infest, I believe, this time around. They got 1 kill and then both died.
I've started losing
admirably.
track. For me, this Lifestealer has been in Invoker 6 minutes in a row. Like,
I would love to see. I don't even think this is possible to have a stat of the longest infest, but
yeah.
we may be at a top level game at least. I mean, sure. In pubs, it happens all the time. You know, you just stay in a creep. In the actually, no.
Yeah,
There's probably been a
you have
longer
to go get
one.
dinner and you want to be safe.
Yeah.
Just infest into the Centaur with a heart, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's another tier 2 tower going down at the cost of nothing for DT. They're just... I think Centaur wouldn't even have died there if Shadow Demon was the first to TP in. They could
Right.
have just disrupted the Centaur and turned around on them. So at the very least, HGT get a kill, but their early game was looking okay. They lost 4-1 in the laning stage. They pulled it back to 0 gold, And since then, they've just been completely out-farmed, trying to find moves, didn't really pull off anything. Now their supports, check out the net worth right here. This is really the story of a game not going your way.
Yeah.
Rubik has 1100, AA has 1400, and the Shadow Demon and Visage combined have 10,000 net worth. That's a difference in net worth on the supports of 7,500.
Well, can we look at the XP graph real quick? Because I'm more interested in this. I guess the XP per minute might be a little bit better of a stat, but because all these infested, we're going to have Visage. Actually, a double tornado. Visage might... Oh, beautiful disruption. Keeping him alive, avoiding so much damage.
Demonic
Now that
Purge.
Shadow Demon ult upon ZSMJ. Here comes Panda. Too slowed from the... Oh. Okay, they're going to get the stun. And it's like simultaneous. This is ridiculous micro. Rubik's going to be caught out. Looks like they might have to settle just for him. And they do.
Yeah, this is a pretty good play from HGT. Not getting ZSMJ killed there is really important for them, and they do buy some time. Did not get the tier 1 mid though. The glyph was forced by XTT, so good split pushing from him, and they're still holding on. But Mirana has been getting so much farm. This was what we were talking about earlier, that maybe she would need to pull ahead, or would be doing well late game if Wraith King and Lifestealer didn't get too much. She's ahead by, what's that, 6,000 gold down to the Lifestealer?
Yeah.
I
Something
wonder.
like that.
I wonder if he was trying to mine gold inside Invoker's belly. but
In
they
July,
just couldn't
finally
find
an initiation from Wraith King, but there's a defensive disruption again, avoiding so much damage, and he's able to get out in the nick of time. I still want to see an infest in the Wraith King and not the Invoker. It just hasn't worked out. Like, what do you think, just on paper, what's a better initiation? I mean, sure, he has max level Wex at this point, but I mean, it's just a faster initiation with Wraith King.
Invoker has the Orchid though, which is the #1 counter to
I guess
group,
that's a good point.
But there is the Shadow Demon disruption. They kind of... This is where DT's lineup is just so perfect. It's so good at team fighting, so good at initiating and counter-initiating. They can always reset with Stampede, they can always reset a single target with Disruption, and they can just collapse on the enemy team if they get a team fight on their terms. They run them over. They have so much control, great damage. The only thing DT's lineup really lacks is great late game, but since Mirana is so far ahead on farm, it's not really going to be a problem. She has
It seems
such
like...
a big...
I'm not saying it's a
All-star.
bad strat. It's a cheesy strat overall, and I'm surprised that it's coming from HGT, to be perfectly honest. A lot of people picking them to be, I guess, third in this qualifiers for the most part. So I'm a little bit surprised at how far ahead in... I don't know how I want to say this. DT just seems like they're on another level.
And I'm a little bit surprised by that, because I think HGT has been playing well so far and had a good result recently in the WVW tournament. I believe that was the one they won against Vici Gaming 2-1 in the grand finals. So HGT have been looking pretty good. And this game, compared to the other games they've had in the tournament so far, they were 3-0 going into this. DT were 2-1. They lost their game to New Element, who did a level 1 Roche, so that's kind of an odd one out that can happen. But I was not expecting HGT to be this far behind. Sure, DT are the favorites, but I don't think this game does HGT justice compared to how good they really are.
Well, they've put so much faith in this Invoker Nakes Bomb, and it just hasn't worked out at all.
We've kind of talked that to death, but it's just been absolutely crucial. These two have been running around together, and meanwhile, DT have not been caught, and they've been catching targets. It's one thing that they don't get caught, but they constantly find the Rubik, and the Rubik has died 6 times. He's been ganked a lot. They've got kills on the AA as well, and they're not afraid to make plays. The thing about the way DT plays is that when the Invoker and Lifestealer are gone from the map, they don't hide behind their tower. They go aggressively together, knowing that if they find the opener, they're going to overwhelm the opponent instead of being intimidated by missing heroes. They have faith in their lineup, they have faith in their team fight, and they're playing like a winning team instead of one that has to be called.
As they're going to infest bomb this tier 1 tower mid, and they're going to get it successfully, but Roshan will be the trade.
Not a good trade.
Yeah. Well, Aegis is going to go for Mirana, and she does have a Desto now, so she's actually doing legit damage. I mean, this Mirana you don't typically see do too much damage until like 40 plus minutes, typically speaking. You really want to go, in a lot of games at least, you want to start with a Linken's or a BKB into like a Manta, which is kind of like a hybrid, I would say, between DPS and tankability, but I mean, they're so far ahead at this point. I think obviously DPS is the right choice.
Yes, I would agree. Mirana has a lot of damage to deal. As far as control goes and defensive, if you go for the defensive Manta, which I would call it, when you already have Linken's, Manta would be kind of overkill on the defense. But if she goes for Manta, she can still rely on Shadow Demon for the disruption. He also has a Force Staff. Centaur has a Force Staff. Do we have a third one? Not yet, but... And there it is.
Yep.
The air BKB.
So
He
he's
will
going to
not
get his
stop
ult
that.
every single time. The Orchid,
There's no counter.
I'm not going to say it's useless because you can use it on another hero, but it's useless on him now,
Yep.
essentially. So
Completely.
that is a big blow to HGT. As we can see, initiation from In July on XTT, who has his ultimate. His teammates are starting to corral close by. His Soul Catcher's there. He's going to go down at least once. So what did Rubik steal? He stole Thunderclap. It's okay. Nice blink out from XTT. He's going to TP out. Looks like he'll get out just fine. As the Stampede, can you tell if those actually work on the pandas? I think they do.
It did affect the...
Here was a whirlwind on CTY, but a nice Orchid on In July. God, all these Y names is ridiculous. Night will get the hoof stomp off as a result. Soul Catcher on ZSMJ is actually Mirana getting defensively disrupted. Here's the hoof stomp onto XTT, taking so much damage. It's In July, though. He needs to back up, gets 4-staffed out, but Mirana doing a lot of damage from the back end. Centaur did die, though, along with the A, so it's a 1-for-1 exchange in favor of HGT. So nice defensive capabilities here from HGT, but a little bit over-aggressive from DT as well.
That was a great disengage by XTT. The moment he got up with Reincarnation, he blinked out. The Brewmaster ult was used, and then they just all got the hell out of there. Invoker really fast with 3 Wex Orbs, used the Force Staff. He took the Boulder, but he managed to create a gap of like 1,000 range first, and then it was very easy for him to play that out. And they ended up trading AA for Centaur, which I think is great. The main question for me right now is, HGT, how do they get back in the game? Trading even in fights I don't think is enough, but how are they supposed to win a fight against this lineup of DT right now? It's about getting pickoffs. They could try doing the Infest Bomb again, but judging from previous attempts, DT are just ready for it. So either you try to do it in a different way, or you start applying... How many smokes have they actually used? I'm not sure how many they have in the store. There's only 1 available, and AA has 1 in his inventory, so they have 2 smokes to play around with. Maybe you find a good initiation angle. The perfect opener, I feel, is silencing Shadow Demon and insta-bursting him. So you get an opener to transition into the fights. You cannot go on the Brewmaster at all. He just BKBs. And the other heroes are going to be hard to kill as well.
I mean, is that a
Mirana, of
bad
course,
sign
will be
when
easy.
you're saying they need to initiate on the Shadow Demon? You know, that. I mean, it makes sense, but I'm hoping this isn't too little too late for HGT, because I've been... Obviously, they came in 3-0. I'm feeling this is an anomaly, as we're going to have initiation, ZSMJ,
Good TP.
Raged. Oh my
still got it
god! XTD's doing so much damage with that
I was
Deso.
sure he was getting out of that.
Did he not pop Armlet there? XTT getting caught out as well. He didn't have his ultimate. So he'll go down. Shadow Demon.
They both have buyback. They're going to have to expend them else they're losing max.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lincoln Sphere applied to In July now. Nice and handy on that Centaur, who's so beefy. They're going to get the tier 3 at the very least, although the fortification is used. And here's the initiation from In... Wow, Air pops his ult. Very aggressive play. Trying to go for CTY. Does he have a gem?
Yep.
Okay, he does have a gem, but he's going to just whirlwind him and apply the pressure to this barracks. And it looks like they should be able to get this barracks if they really want to, but might they want to fight. Disruption, now on In July. God, that was such beautiful disruptions again, defensively, avoiding so much damage. Whirlwind, XTT, Soul Assumption finishes off Ancient Apparition. In July now applies all his pressure to Pretty Hall, but gets stunned in the meantime by XTT, who again does have his ultimate now. Actually, came off cooldown, so he's back. But you're seeing that BKB now on Air, who didn't even have to use it on his initial initiation, which is ridiculous. As they're going to get this mid-rex, absolutely no problem. And they're going to blink out now. ZSMJ.
Triple stun, familiar drops. I mean,
Oh,
what
can you
more
get the...
you
Oh,
ask
the
for?
double edge on so many! The burst damage is insane. CTY trying to get out, but he's not going to be out in time. Gem drops to the decks. XTT again. GG's come out. DT completely dominant this game. Good lord. I was not... Okay. I'm a DT believer, as you know, Cinderin. But this is, like I said,
That's
on a
world
whole
class.
new level.
That's just world class. I have nothing to
Ridiculous
like.
play.
The Shadow Demon so clutch plays the entire game. Everyone on DT just did a great job. For me, there's no standout player in this game. Air gets a lot of praise for his Brewmaster, and sure, he did a good job, but I don't feel like he carried his team. I don't feel like he shined more than anyone else. They just
I agree.
all played incredibly well, and
That's some of the best Shadow Demon play I have seen in a very long time. The defensive disruptions, we talk about it all the time, how good it's against Batrider, and a lot of times that's mostly what we see it for. Here we see it in so many different variations, and it just worked out really well for DT. And they're looking good, man. They're looking really good.
what I love about DT's playstyle is how they can ignore the metagame if they want. They just pick what they think is good. Other teams are really not rating Visage that highly. They pick it in the first phase consistently, and they win with it. Other teams don't even pick it. Maybe pick it 5th, maybe pick it 4th. A few Western teams will pick Visage high, but the other teams in this qualifier don't. And that's one of the edges I think DT has going into this tournament, is that they're so good with heroes that other teams don't really value that high.
Yeah.
Brewmaster is an absolute first pick or ban against DT.
Well,
Visage,
people they have so other teams play Brewmaster,
Yes.
but it's not a first pick every time again,
them.
like for DT.
Exactly. And this game, to be fair, I also think HGT just gave DT all their picks. They love playing the Centaur. That could have been banned in the second phase. They love playing the Shadow Demon. That could have been banned in the second phase.
What was banned in the first phase?
Invoker and...
Invoker and who?
Bad Rider, I guess.
Oh yeah, Invoker was in the game.
What am I talking about?
No, it was...
Bat Rider, for sure, was banned.
well, yeah, Bat Rider... Oh god, I don't even know why I'm trying to remember. This is awful.
But Lycan was banned by HGT. They banned Lycan and OD. That was the one I pointed out.
Oh yeah, the OD was kind of, yeah. Okay.
They banned... what was it? God
I don't
damn
remember
it,
the other
I
one.
can't remember it.
I don't know why I ask questions that I know nobody knows the answer to, but it's just my specialty, I suppose. But yeah, DT's looking really freaking good. Like on a whole, HGT still could be a top 3 team. I mean, they're 3-1 now, but DT is just ridiculous.
If DT gets these heroes and plays like this, I don't think LGD will beat them either. Even though they're the favorite to play up against DT, we could say whether DT is the favorite or not, LGD. Many people will say it's like a 50-50.
Yeah.
Hard to say. This is easily the best play I've seen in the qualifier so far. This game from DT was just almost flawless.
Right. Well, we're talking about the Invoker Lifestealer bomb not working out.
Darkseer. That's right. That's the ban from chat. Darkseer was banned. There we go.
Okay.
Darkseer and Bad Rider.
We talked about the Invoker Lifestealer combo not working out too well, and I feel like it's more DT having great positioning and awareness of the map than it is the actual combination. Because the combination we saw worked one time, although it wasn't the greatest trade of all time. You made a good point about the Orchid initiation, which is helpful, but at the same time, I feel like at this level of play, if you see the Ghost Walk around you, you're going to be aware of it. You know what I mean? Like, you'll have some time to react, as opposed to if it's a Wraith King initiation with the Nakes inside. But, I don't know. I don't want to harp on it anymore, but I feel like that is the main reason that HGT just didn't do well this game. So much time invested into that.
It's the main reason that they started falling behind more, but even without that, even if they had farmed normally, they were still losing the game. They were still getting outplayed in the fight, so maybe it was like an act of desperation.
This game would have gone like 50 plus if they didn't do that still. You know? I mean,
40 plus.
Okay.
Definitely.
What the
giving HGT 20 more minutes as penalty for that.
44 minutes.
Okay.
We fine with that?
I'll buy that. Okay.
Okay.
Would have gone 44 minutes, so.
We're good.
But yes, that was definitely a mistake. But at the same time, HGT supports also, they just got run over. It's so hard playing Rubik and AA against this kind of, what should we call it, face rush? Like, they just run in with Stampede and Brewmaster blinking in, and you're standing there with your poor Rubik. You just get wrecked.
There's and like the fact that it works on, the fact that we know it works on the Spirits now is, that's an awesome combination. I love it.
So, that's pretty much it for that game. DT, absolutely outstanding performance. HGT, they're now going to be tied up. Both of them will have 3-1. This means, of course, that the game DT had against New Element could play a really deciding role in how the top 4 gets played out. We're going to have to see that, of course.
Who's coming up next? Roland?
Let me just check the schedule.
Yeah, let's do some ghetto checkage. Checkage of the schedules.
I got it.
Since the schedule's all messed up.
So next up on the stream, unless something weird has happened, is going to be CNB China versus HGT. So HGT will be in action once again. Let's see if they get two-faced from this loss, or if they're going to be fine going up against CNB. On the secondary stream, we should have LGD China's second squad, CDEC versus CIS. On High Ground TV, there should be, let me see, New Element versus Tongfu. And finally, the lounge stream should be watching LGD versus Orenda. So was this the last game for DT today, or do they have? They have one more. They have the last game of the day versus Speed. That's going to be a tough one for Speed Gaming, let's be honest.
Yes. I think every game against DT is a tough game, though, so you can't really say that.
Yep. All right. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this game. We're going to go over to a short break, guys, and then we will be back. You are, of course, watching the TI4 Chinese qualifiers, sponsored or presented by
I'm out of here.
Get out.
I'm out.
Get out. Presented by Monster Energy. We will be back after the short break.